Hello everyone, my name's Joe and this is the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. Now I've owned this phone since it came out and I thought it'd be worth going back, just taking a look at the design, the screen, the battery, everything about the phone and just seeing how it stacks up to other flagships that have come out since. Obviously Huawei's P20 Pro has been massive on the market for its camera. This phone specifically Samsung marketed as being great on the camera front. And since then we have had the new iPhones coming out, in addition to the Note 9 that attempts to pretty much trump this in every single way. So I thought I'd go back and just take a look at how this stacks up to more contemporary devices and just give you my in-depth comparison. Aesthetically, the S9 Plus looks very premium. It's made up of two glass panels with an aluminum frame in the middle. One of the biggest things I love about the phone is that it retains the headphone jack that has become increasingly rare in other flagships. The USB-C port sits at the bottom and that acts for fast charging. The glass back does mean that you can do wireless charging, and it is fast wireless charging, but obviously it's not as good as wired. The speakers on the device get extremely loud. The earpiece acts as a speaker, but it's not a proper speaker in itself, it just gets really loud when it needs to. But overall, it's not going to replace any Bluetooth speaker that you have lying around your house, but it's certainly loud enough that if you're consuming content by yourself on the sofa, it's loud enough then that you don't want to have to get the Bluetooth speaker out and connect to it. Now, Samsung introduced its virtual assistant Bixby with the S8 last year, and with it came a button that you use to summon the virtual assistant itself. This is once again present on the S9 Plus, and unfortunately I don't believe that Samsung's Bixby Assistant is yet good enough or comparable to the likes of Siri and the Google Assistant for me to warrant using it. Now, I do think it's unfortunate that you can't actually remap the Bixby button to do other functions, such as opening a different application. The screen on the S9 Plus is one of the biggest reasons to pick it up. The 6.2-inch panel is one of the best I've ever seen on a phone. Vibrant colours, excellent viewing angles, and Samsung have once again returned with their Edge functionality here. Now, it's something that, this is the first Samsung device I've owned myself. I've toyed around with them every now and again, and there are a ton of different applications that work on the Edge screen. The biggest thing I find myself using it for is just quick access to other apps. That just eliminates the need for me to go back to the home screen and go onto other applications itself. But overall, the functionality is nice, but I don't find myself using it as much as I thought I would be. Now, battery life on the S9 Plus is somewhat hit or miss with me. So the 3500 mAh pack inside should be enough to get me through a day. But I'm certainly somewhat of a power user, with me consuming a lot of YouTube videos, listening to a lot of podcasts, etc. But there have been times when I've got into work for 10 in the morning and I'm already on 60% battery. It's something that has led to me having to charge the phone at least once a day throughout my period. Now, the camera on the S9 Plus is extremely capable. So when Samsung first announced the S9, they very much boasted about their dual aperture feature. Now, this basically allows the main lens to open or close depending on the light conditions. And this does mean that when taking pictures in low light, things are extremely clear. Now, while it's not as clear as something like the P20 Pro that manages to capture obscene amounts of light even when you're outside in the extremely dark conditions, the S9 Plus does do a really good job overall, and it is a really good capable camera. So the S9 Plus actually comes with two sensors, whereas the S9 only comes with the single 12 megapixel main camera. So on this one you have an additional 12 megapixel telephoto camera that allows you to do the 2x zoom in. And while this is a really nice touch, I don't find myself using it as much as I should. For me personally, I'm the sort of person that would take a picture and just zoom in straight away. I think that things like the LG G7 are doing things that are much more unique in terms of bringing a wide-angle lens to the 4A. Now, I've actually used an LG G7 myself, and I found myself going for that secondary lens a lot more because the wide angle just allowed for more unique pictures to be taken. So while the telephoto lens here is great, during my 7 months of usage personally, I can count the amount of times I've used it on one hand. Now, pictures on the S9 Plus look great, but you can see that they're very much optimised to be viewing on the device itself. That's because when pictures taken on the device are stretched out, you can see that Samsung once again applied their smoothing technique on photos. That basically means that intricate details are brushed over, meaning they're not as visible as, say, they would be on the Google Pixel 2, for instance, that manages to retain more of these details. Now, depending on where you are in the world, depends on what chip you get when you buy the Galaxy S9 or S9 Plus. In the UK, for instance, we get Samsung's proprietary Exynos chip, whereas in the US you get Qualcomm's Snapdragon 845. So the Galaxy S9 Plus comes with 6GB of RAM. Now that's 2 more than you get if you buy the regular S9. And performance overall for me has been extremely quick and snappy. There hasn't been a time when things have crashed or things have been loading for too long. Overall, even Samsung's skin that they've put over Android 8 Oreo is extremely quick and snappy. Playing the latest and greatest games and opening tons of different applications at once is incredibly easy on the Galaxy S9 Plus. The only noticeable thing here is that it's still running Android 8 Oreo. Now, back in August, Google announced Android 9 Pie and released it for the Essential phone and the Google Pixel phones. And there were a ton of other different devices from HTC and Sony and others, for instance, that were in the beta, and they seem like they're getting more firm release dates of when they're getting Android 9 Pie. Now, Samsung fans were given hope last week when some images emerged on XDA developers of a Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus running Android 9 Pie. Now, while that leak may have given some hope that Android 9 Pie might be coming sooner than people thought, there's still no official word from Google or Samsung about when the S9 or the S9 Plus might be updated. And just to emphasise, the Note 9 came out last month, and that's something that came out rocking Android 8 Oreo rather than the latest and greatest from Google. Now, the Galaxy S9 Plus is still one of the best phones you can get right now. I do think it is worth spending the extra money to get the S9 Plus over the regular S9. Not only do you get a bigger battery, but you get a second camera, bigger screen, and more RAM. Now, I do think that the Galaxy Note 9 is the biggest competition to the Galaxy S9 Plus. For the most part, you get the same features. Now, the Note 9 does include a bigger battery, a slightly bigger screen, and the S Pen. And I do think that the latter will be the biggest reason that you would go for the Note 9 over the S9 Plus. Galaxy S9 does find itself in somewhat of a precarious place. That's because the S8 is incredibly cheap, and this still retails for £869. So you really do have to ask yourself if the extra added processing and its better camera is worth it to you. You do really need to ask yourself two questions: whether the Note 9 is more appealing to you for its added horsepower, or whether you would rather skip out and get the S8 because it's much cheaper. And I do think that in terms of a pure camera front, the Google Pixel 2 on Android is doing something incredibly unique with artificial intelligence. And I do think that the pictures taken on the Pixel 2 XL do look a lot better than on the Galaxy S9. I think that Google's pictures have managed to retain more detail than on this phone. And then if you're not part of the Android ecosystem already, you do have to look at the new iPhones that have just been announced. Apple announced the iPhone XR, the iPhone XS and the iPhone XS Max at their hardware event recently. And Apple's new phones feature a brand new processor, an improved camera system and a gorgeous design. And then you have other Android flagships that are coming in the future, like the Huawei Mate 20 Pro and the Google Pixel 3, the OnePlus 6T as well. So you really do need to ask yourself if those phones are going to be appealing to you when they come out in the coming months. And in the future, you do have the Galaxy S10 that will obviously succeed the S9 and the S9 Plus on the market. That phone in particular is rumoured to come in 3 different models, one being a mid-tier, one being a premium, and one being a lower cost product. And the most premium of those phones is rumoured to have 3 cameras and a fingerprint sensor underneath the display. And while nothing is confirmed yet, there's still exciting rumours that potentially we can have to look forward to. Samsung have also been rumoured to be announcing a foldable phone later this year that will presumably debut next year. While not a lot is actually known about this phone, it's still incredibly exciting and surely will succeed the S9 and S9 Plus when it is announced. Overall, the Galaxy S9 Plus is a great phone, and I'm sure everyone out there that has one is enjoying it. But if you haven't picked up this phone yet, I would strongly consider that you wait to see what Samsung has next year and what other rivals are going to be doing in the next few months or so.